Have you ever questioned why certain thoughts never arrive? Why some perspectives remain strangers to your understanding, even though they're freely available in the world? It's not because you're incapable, it's because you're conditioned. Conditioned to consume fragments of information without digesting them. Conditioned to entertain the surface while the depths remain unexplored. A book is not ink on paper. It's a portal waiting to be entered. And reading isn't about finishing chapters, it's about beginning awakenings. 2 books a month. That's all it takes. Not to impress anyone, not to fill a shelf, but to stir the parts of you that are still asleep, the ancient parts, the sacred parts, the divine architecture of your curiosity. Because here's the truth. You're not starving for more information. You're starving for revelation. You're dehydrated from shallow content, scrolling through noise, consuming thoughts that aren't yours. But imagine feeding your soul with the voice of someone who wrestled with the eternal, who dared to record what they found in the silence. Imagine spending a few pages each night with someone who's no longer alive, yet still speaks. That's not just reading. That's resurrection. That's legacy transferred through the sacred act of stillness. And in a world of rush, stillness is rebellion. 2 books a month is not a habit. It's a protest, a decision to expand while the world contracts. And with every new book, your identity stretches. Suddenly, your problems begin to shrink in the light of new paradigms. Your mind gains altitude, and from up there, what once seemed overwhelming becomes insignificant. Because elevation changes perception. You begin to see how other people solved problems you thought were unique to you. You start connecting dots that were never meant to remain apart. And most importantly, you stop feeling alone. Not because people change, but because you finally recognize that wisdom was always trying to reach you. It's been waiting in libraries, sitting on shelves, whispering through recommendations. But the door was always on your side. 2 books, that's it. And the truth is, the quantity doesn't matter as much as the consistency. Because when your soul senses your commitment to growth, everything around you begins to shift. Your vocabulary evolves. Your convictions become sharper. Your dreams stop being random and start being designed. Every chapter is a stone in the path you're building. Every quote that echoes in your spirit is a signpost guiding you forward. Even when the book has nothing to do with your current season, somehow, mysteriously, it always knows what to reveal. That's the divine timing of sacred text. It arrives when you're finally ready to see. And so the question is no longer, do you have time to read? The real question is, can you afford not to? In a world that profits from your confusion, staying ignorant is a form of surrender. But when you read, you reclaim territory. Territory of thought, territory of spirit, territory of legacy. You begin to speak with a new weight, not from arrogance, but from depth. People notice. You notice. Because once you taste a mind that's been expanded, nothing shallow will ever satisfy you again. That's the secret no one tells you. Reading isn't a task, it's a transformation. And 2 books a month is more than enough to start the fire. And maybe right now, 2 books a month sounds like a stretch. Life is loud. Schedules are full. Attention spans are shattered. But here's a sacred truth. It's not about time, it's about priority. 10 minutes before bed, 20 minutes while commuting, even 5 minutes while waiting in line. These are not lost moments. They're invitations. And when you begin treating books like sacred encounters instead of burdens, your relationship with time transforms. You stop chasing minutes, and you start creating meaning. Because while others are scrolling endlessly, hoping to escape their minds, you'll be feeding yours deliberately, purposefully, reverently. That's the kind of ritual that doesn't just build knowledge, and it builds character. You'll start to feel it within the first few weeks. A shift, a stretch. Not just in vocabulary, but in vision. You'll hear someone speak and instantly recognize how shallow or profound their worldview is. You'll begin asking better questions. You'll stop needing to win arguments and start seeking deeper truths. And the beautiful irony? The more you read, the less you feel the need to prove anything. That's because growth doesn't scream, it whispers. And that whisper will echo in everything you do. How you speak, how you lead, how you love. People around you will notice, they'll ask what changed, but they won't realize it started with a single page. And if you choose to go even deeper, to annotate, to journal, to reflect, the power compounds. Suddenly, a passage from a 200-year-old book becomes the answer to a modern-day crisis. A sentence written by someone from a different culture, a different century, speaks directly to your current wound. That's not coincidence, and that's alignment. Books are time travelers. They transcend culture, creed, and currency. And when you engage with them not just to finish but to absorb, you'll find yourself accessing intelligence beyond your years. You won't just be smarter, you'll be wiser. Because you'll be drinking from wells you didn't dig, standing on shoulders you didn't build, and honoring truths that outlive trends. And maybe right now 2 books a month sounds like too much, too heavy, too slow for a world that screams for speed, swipes, and shortcuts. But I'll ask you something no one ever dares to whisper anymore. What if speed is the very thing stealing your soul? What if the silence of a turning page holds more healing than 1,000 podcasts? You see, we've confused movement with progress, noise with wisdom, and stimulation with growth. But books don't demand your attention with colors or sounds. They invite it with depth. They don't chase you, they wait. And in that waiting, they test you. Will you show up for truth that won't beg to be heard? Will you sit still long enough to remember who you are, or who you could become? Let's be honest, most people will never pick up a second book this year. Not because they don't have time, but because they don't have vision. Vision to see what a book really is. It's not paper and ink, it's mentorship. It's oxygen for the soul. It's a mirror for your inner world and a doorway to someone else's. Every book you read breaks a wall in your mind, a wall built by culture, by upbringing, by fear. And here's the secret. Your future isn't limited by what you know. It's imprisoned by what you refuse to learn. When you commit to reading 2 books a month, you're not just committing to pages. You're declaring war against mental stagnation. You're saying, I refuse to be average by default. And no, you don't need to read fast. You don't need to remember every word. You don't need a highlighter or a perfect system. What you need is hunger. A quiet fire inside that says, I know there's more than this. Because the goal isn't just to read, it's to become. To let the pages rearrange something inside of you. Maybe it's your self-worth. Maybe it's your discipline. Maybe it's your idea of what's possible. And slowly, book after book, you begin to witness something sacred, not just a changed mind, but a renewed spirit. The kind of change that doesn't announce itself on social media. The kind that shows up in how you carry silence, how you handle chaos, how you treat those who can do nothing for you. Think about it. Every time you open a book, you're stepping into someone else's heartbeat. Someone who lived, who bled, who broke, and decided to share the wisdom forged in that fire. That's not entertainment, that's inheritance, and it's waiting for you. Not when you have more time, but now. In the stillness between distractions, in the quiet moments when the world isn't watching. That's where destinies are redesigned, not in the noise, but in the nurture. You don't need to read to impress anyone. You need to read to awaken someone. That someone is the future you. And they are starving. Imagine 2 years from now. That's 48 books. 48 voices echoing inside you. 48 new lenses to see the world. You'd speak differently. You'd listen differently. You'd make decisions not from impulse but from depth. And those around you would feel it, even if they couldn't explain it. You'd begin to attract rooms you once felt unworthy of. You'd leave conversations feeling full instead of frustrated. Because books don't just give you facts. They refine your frequency. They tune your spirit to truth. They give you the language for thoughts you've always carried but never known how to express. But let me be clear. This isn't for everyone. This is for the seeker, for the one who knows they're made for more but doesn't quite know what that more looks like yet. It's for the broken but hungry, the quiet but brave, the tired but willing. If that's you, then consider this your invitation, not from me, from the part of you you've forgotten, the part that used to believe in transformation, the part that knows that feeding your mind is the first act of spiritual warfare, because ignorance is not neutral, it's a weapon, and every unread book is a battle lost. So when you pick up that first book, don't expect fireworks. Expect friction. Expect resistance. The same way muscles tear before they grow, your mind will fight the new. But keep turning the page. Keep drinking the words. Because buried in those chapters is the blueprint for who you were always meant to be. Books don't change people overnight. They change the soil in which your life is rooted. And in due time, the fruit reveals itself, not in noise, but in stillness. Not in show, but in strength. Not in volume, but in value. And remember, this journey isn't about perfection. You'll miss days, you'll get bored, you'll start and stop. But if you return, again and again, something miraculous happens. Your spirit begins to trust you again. That inner voice, the one that's gone quiet over the years, begins to speak. And you'll realize, this wasn't about books at all. It was about reclaiming your mind. About remembering that destiny is not a one-time decision. It's a daily discipline. A habit of feeding what's eternal instead of chasing what's urgent. So go ahead. Start with 1, then 2. Let them open you, challenge you, wound you, heal you. Because your greatest breakthrough might not be in the next job, the next trip, or the next relationship. It might be sitting quietly in a book you haven't opened yet. So let this be the moment you stop waiting for the perfect time and start building the perfect habit. Because reading 2 books monthly is not a finish line, it's a rhythm, a pulse, a sacred beat that aligns your soul with wisdom, your path with clarity, and your life with depth. You don't have to read like anyone else. You don't have to pretend to understand every word. But you do have to show up, consistently, intentionally, humbly, because you are not just collecting stories, you're collecting armor, weapons, seeds, and each one plants something new in you, something that speaks louder than doubts, stronger than fear and clearer than chaos. That's the power of books. They enter quietly, but they leave echoes. Now think of your future self again. Not 2 years from now. Think 10. That version of you will either look back with gratitude or with regret. Gratitude that you chose to feed your mind instead of your ego. Gratitude that you became a person who could lead, love, and live from a place of wisdom. Or regret. That you scrolled when you should have studied. That you consumed noise when you could have crafted vision. That you had access to the minds of the greatest thinkers in history and chose not to listen. Harsh? Maybe. But truth doesn't apologize. It invites you higher. And this invitation is open right now in your hands. So let me leave you with this. If you want to expand your world, expand your words. If you want to grow your opportunities, grow your understanding. And if you want to change your life, start with your library. Every book is a portal. A portal out of fear, out of confusion, out of mediocrity. Every book is a quiet revolution waiting for your attention. And the moment you commit to reading 2 every month, you become more than just a reader. You become a rebel, a builder, a guardian of wisdom in a world addicted to noise. That's not just powerful, that's rare. And in a world like this, being rare is everything. But let's not rush toward the light without understanding the darkness. Because there's a reason you haven't read those books yet. There's a reason your shelf gathers dust while your mind spins in cycles. You've been told you're too busy, too tired, too distracted. And maybe that's true. But maybe you've simply been sedated. Not with drugs, but with dopamine. With distractions dressed as productivity. With entertainment that numbs instead of nurtures. And the cost is your potential. Because while you scroll through illusions, the truths that could have saved you remain untouched. Their covers closed, their power asleep. This isn't about guilt. It's about awakening. Awakening to the realization that your greatest breakthroughs might be sitting silently on your bookshelf, unopened, unfelt, unheard. Imagine a fire starting inside you, not a blaze of motivation that burns bright and dies fast, but a steady flame, one that grows each time you turn a page, each time you meet an idea that feels foreign but familiar, each time you highlight a line that speaks directly to your soul. That flame is focus. That flame is expansion. And it doesn't come from reading what's popular. It comes from reading what's profound. You don't need a viral list. You need a personal library built like a weapon cache, filled with tools for healing, frameworks for thinking, stories that stretch your empathy, philosophies that fracture your ego. That's not casual reading. That's conscious evolution. And it begins when you choose discipline over impulse, purpose over comfort, legacy over likes. Let me be clear. Reading 2 books a month won't change your life. Not by itself. You can read and still stay the same. What changes your life is what happens after the last page, when the story ends and the reflection begins, when the ideas refuse to stay on paper and demand to be lived. Books are not souvenirs. They are catalysts. And the right one, at more. The right time can be more powerful than a therapist, a coach, or even a miracle. Because when a sentence slices through your denial, when a chapter breaks your rhythm of mediocrity, when a truth enters your bloodstream, you are no longer the same. That is the silent violence of wisdom. It doesn't shout. It invades. And once it's in, it never leaves. Maybe you've read before and felt nothing. Maybe you read entire books and forgot them the next day. That's because you were skimming the surface while your soul was drowning in the deep. This time, I'm inviting you to go deeper. Read with your heart, not just your eyes. Read slowly, hungrily, vulnerably. Read not to remember, but to awaken. And if a book doesn't shake something inside you, put it down. Life is too short for pages that don't pierce. Seek out those words that feel like they were written for you, in your language, in your season of struggle. And when you find them, don't just highlight. Let them haunt you. Let them echo through your decisions, your relationships, your vision of yourself. That's not reading. That's resurrection. You don't need to be brilliant to begin. You just need to be broken, enough to be open. Open to being wrong. Open to being reshaped. Open to hearing a voice wiser than your own. That's what books offer. Not answers, but encounters. Encounters with the minds of prophets, poets, revolutionaries, mystics. People who walked through the fire and returned with language. And now they're offering you their scars, their steps, their sacred mistakes, bound in covers waiting for your courage. Don't let fear dress itself as disinterest. Don't let your inner critic convince you that you're not the type who reads. You are exactly the type. You are the hungry, the haunted, the seeker. And books? They are your banquet. There will be days when it feels pointless, when your mind is foggy and the words blur together. That's not failure, that's friction. And friction means you're moving. It means you're building the muscles of attention in a world that worships distraction. Keep turning the pages. Keep showing up to the silence. Because every sentence you digest becomes a thread in the tapestry of your transformation. And one day, you'll speak, and people won't know why your words cut deeper, why your presence feels rooted. It'll be because you've read, not for performance, but for depth. You've listened to the voices of the dead, and now you carry their wisdom like a secret strength. 2 books, 30 days. That's the rhythm. Not to impress, but to integrate. Not to escape life, but to engage it more fully. And if you do this long enough, something strange begins to happen. Your vocabulary shifts. Your thoughts get clearer. Your decisions sharpen. Your compassion grows. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop judging and start understanding. You stop drifting and start building. That's not magic. That's momentum. And it begins the moment you treat reading not as a hobby, but as a spiritual discipline, as a ritual of self-rescue, as a sacred rebellion against the shallowness of the age. So here's the truth you already know. Your mind is starving. And fast food content won't feed your future. But real food? Soul food? It's there. On your shelf, at your library, in the quiet corners of old bookshops, all waiting. Not just for your time, but for your surrender. Are you ready to make space for what could change everything? Are you ready to risk your comfort for your clarity? Are you ready to build the kind of inner world that can withstand any storm? Then make the decision. Today. 2 books. Every month. No matter what. Because your destiny is not determined by your desires, but by your disciplines. And this one might just be the hinge on which your entire future turns. And now we arrive at the quietest yet most powerful part of this entire journey. The conclusion. Not the end of the story, but the beginning of your next chapter. Because if you've truly felt these words, if they've landed inside you with even a flicker of resonance, then you already know this isn't just about reading. It's about returning. Returning to a part of yourself you've neglected. The thinker, the seeker, the soul stretcher who knows there's more to life than looping routines and shallow gratification. That part of you is still alive. It has been waiting, watching, hoping, and now that you've seen what's possible, you can no longer unsee it. You can no longer pretend that ignorance is freedom. You know better now. You know that every book you don't read is a door you leave unopened, a version of you that remains unborn. Let that reality sit with you. Because transformation doesn't come from inspiration alone, it comes from commitment. From showing up again and again, even when it's not convenient, even when nobody's clapping, even when your ego screams for something easier. Especially then, that's where it begins. The kind of change that doesn't just decorate your life, but deconstructs and rebuilds it from the inside out. And books are not decorations. They are detonators. You pick the right one and it will dismantle everything you thought you knew about yourself. Your beliefs, your boundaries, your broken narratives. It will strip you of excuses and clothe you in possibilities. But only if you engage with it. Only if you open it with reverence and readiness. So here's your challenge, and it's brutally simple. 2 books a month. Not as a checklist, not as a flex, but as a devotion. A quiet pact with your future self. The one who's clearer, wiser, and more whole. And as the months pass, watch how your inner world begins to rearrange. Watch how your conversations deepen, your decisions slow down, your emotional reactions soften. Watch how your vision expands beyond survival into legacy. That's what happens when you feed your mind. Consistently, it stops obeying the chaos and starts creating clarity. You become the architect of your experience. And the tools are in those pages. Some books will feel like fire. They'll burn away the lies you've believed for too long. Others will feel like water. They'll wash over your grief and give you space to heal. Some will confuse you, frustrate you, even offend you, but that discomfort is sacred because it means you're growing. You're not passively absorbing, you're actively wrestling. And that wrestling leads to revelations. To moments where you close the book, take a breath and whisper, "I never saw it that way before." Those are the shifts that change you forever. They don't come from algorithms, they come from authors who wrote with blood and bone and truth. And now their life work is sitting in your hands, asking one question: will you read me deeply enough to let me change you? Reading is not passive, it's participation. It's a co-creation between your old self and your new self. And the pages are the portal. So when you pick up a book, don't just read, enter. Step into the mind of the author. Feel what they felt. Question what they questioned. Let their story collide with yours. And when you finish, don't walk away unchanged. Extract the lesson, integrate the insight, apply the discomfort. That's how you turn books into building blocks. Not just for knowledge, but for wisdom. Not just for thinking, but for becoming. You'll have moments of doubt. You'll miss a day. maybe even a week. That's fine. Progress isn't linear, but commitment is resilient. Keep returning, keep reading, and track the transformations, not just in how much you know, but in how differently you live. Maybe you'll speak more slowly, listen more fully, love more openly, decide more wisely. That's not coincidence, it's consequence. The consequence of a disciplined mind, a nourished heart, and a soul that refuses to stay shallow. And in 10 years, when someone asks how you became who you are, you won't mention one book. You'll mention the habit, the rhythm, the ritual, 2 books. Every month. That was the path. That was the portal. That was the practice that redefined your destiny. Because your mind didn't just grow, it evolved. And from that evolution, every area of your life began to reflect the expansion. So take this final truth with you like a compass pressed to your chest. The version of you you're dreaming of already exists. But you'll never meet them by accident. You meet them by decision. Deliberate, repeated, quiet decision. 1 page at a time, 1 idea at a time, 1 deep, soul-shifting encounter at a time. And when you do, the world won't need to be impressed, because you'll already be aligned with purpose, aligned with clarity, aligned with the truth that your universe didn't just expand, you did.